Want to watch football without the restrictions of blackouts or cable? Check out expressvpn.com to help you get access to all the live games. Sign up today using the link in the description to get 3 free months. Yo to Bolt fam, it's the director. Chargers fans, you know there's certain dates in the NFL offseason that start getting me excited about the weeks to come, right? You got the free agency, you got the NFL draft to look forward and prepare for. But I think honestly the first thing that gets me really excited about the new league year is going to be the NFL Combine, okay? And some people, I know it's not their thing. I know some people, the Combine's boring. Be it not as exciting as live action football, it does give you a sneak peek as to what to expect in the NFL draft, specifically identifying some of your favorite players going into the draft, not just for the first round, but for rounds to come. And I think a lot of that has to do this season with the Chargers because we need speed on this team. I think both offensively and defensively. And I think if there's one exciting aspect to the Combine, it's going to be that 40-yard dash, man. So I think this year in particular could be exciting for Chargers fans as we are looking to pick up some speed at some premium positions. So let's take a look at some of what we're looking at in terms of the schedule here, right? March 2nd, defensive line linebacker. I think linebacker could be sneaky important for the Chargers. March 3rd, defensive back, special teams. And then we got March 4th. This will be the big one for the Chargers. Wide receiver and tight end, because I think there's a really big chance that the Chargers go wide receiver, tight end in the first round. So it should be a pretty good one, man. We're going to go after some of my favorite dudes to look out for. If you're fans of the NFL Combine, you're going to be watching the Combine this weekend. Be sure to check out some of my favorite players here in this video. And then you guys in the comment section below, please list some of your sleepers. I keep getting messages from everybody saying, Director, take a look at this guy, take a look at that guy. Well, now we have an opportunity to get all those names in one place so we know who to pay attention to in the NFL Combine. Now, before we do get started, guys, shout out to the sponsor, Underdog Fantasy. We got some NBA going on tonight. Excited, me, myself, and I, getting a little bit more interested in the NBA myself. Follow my journey on that. Have a good time along the way. Use code Director to match your first deposit up to $100. Before kickoff here, guys, hit us up with a like and sub. If you do enjoy this Chargers content, small amount of time you guys take to hit the like, sub, and bell notification helps me out a lot. Let's get into it. Lights, camera, action. My top players to watch at the NFL Combine for Chargers fans in 2023. We're going to be very cash in this video. I'm sure you guys can tell. Not much effort put in the get up today. Well, it's because I just kind of wanted to get on here and talk a little bit about some of my favorite players without having to throw down like a huge presentation for it, because that's kind of what I want the vibe to be in the chat too, man. Not every player is going to hit. Not every player is going to be known. This is the place to sit and talk and discuss and bring these names to light as the NFL Combine is coming around the corner here. I want to know what to pay attention to as well, but to give my information side of it as well, here are some of my favorite players. So the Chargers, as you guys know, unless they decide to trade up, which I don't think there's a big possibility of that, they're not going to see a lot of action with these top prospects, man. I think the best player even maybe in this entire draft the Chargers could go for is probably Jalen Carter. I think the Chargers need a lot of help in defensive line, but I do not think that is going to happen. So a lot of these frontier guys, sure, these are going to be names you're going to want to look for in the NFL draft just to see how they perform, especially if you're a team that needs a quarterback, et cetera, et cetera. But for the Chargers, I would say some of the names begin a little bit lower. And I think this is actually the number one guy on my list. We'll talk about Quentin Johnston here for just a second. Now, Quentin Johnston recently getting a little bit of press, I would say, in connection to the Chargers because of some wacky mock draft we saw a couple of days ago. And I do think it's a possibility that he falls to the Chargers, and the Chargers could very well be considering him. Now, I would say the first thing here with Quentin Johnston, right? One of the biggest things I'm hearing about him in terms of his connections to the Chargers is comparisons to Mike Williams. I actually have to disagree on that a little bit. Mike Williams is going to be your 50-50 guy, your physical receiver, whereas Quentin Johnston, he does fit more of what the Chargers are looking for in terms of speed. And this is why it's so important for us to pay attention during the Combine, because if this guy goes out there and runs a sub 4.4, right? Which would be incredible, which I think is maybe in the realm of possibilities. His draft stock could go way up, and the Chargers fans' focus could firmly go on him as a speed wideout option for Justin Herbert. Let's say he runs in the low 4.4s or whatever. I still think that's a pretty good speed considering his size at 6'4". So Quentin Johnston, who could end up being one of those top 3, top 4 wide receivers in this year's draft, is a name that I don't want flying under the radar too much. And I think as we get closer to draft day, more and more people are going to start paying attention to him, because I do think that he possesses the speed the Chargers are looking for, as well as perhaps maybe potential to take over a wide receiver 2 position in the future for the Chargers. So Quentin Johnston, 6'4", he should be very fast. He's listed here as, where he wins is with his explosiveness. He wants an X receiver role. He could improve his physicality. Very physical in 2021, less so in 2022, but I do think that trait does exist. I think there's a lot of potential for Quentin Johnston, and you pair him up with Mike Williams, my goodness, things start getting exciting. So I do have a list, by the way, and I'll maybe reference it on and off. There are guys that I have listed from 15 to 1 on here. Decided not to do that format for this video. I wanted to be a little bit more casual. Quentin Johnston was actually the #1 player I wanted people to pay attention to. So here's another big name that I want Chargers fans to maybe not let fly under the radar. It's going to be Brian Branch. Where did I have him ranked on here? I know I wrote him down. Brian Branch. He was probably somewhere in 9-8 area. There he is at number 9. So take a look here. Brian Branch. Now the Chargers, I would say a very sneaky need for this team is going to be safety. And that's because of the Brandon Staley scheme. Right now we got Nasir Adderley, Derwin James, and Nasir's probably not coming back, dudes. I don't know. They could bring him back. He's not been awful, but he's not really lived up to the potential that Chargers fans were hoping to see. I feel like because of how pivotal the safety position is to Brandon Staley and the Chargers, if a guy like Brian Branch falls, I do suspect that he would be on the board for the Chargers because, again, you're relying a lot on that position. Brian Branch is extremely versatile. What are some of the big things here? Football IQ. He can play in the slot. His place, this dude is a very complete safety. Maybe not a textbook free safety where Nasir Adderley was playing, but that's the whole point of having guys like Derwin James and Brian Branch. Very interchangeable. Probably the most complete safety you'll find in this draft. And because of his position, I think there's a pretty big chance that he could fall at some point. So Brian Branch is another guy to see how he tests. He's already 6 feet tall, very fast. I think it's another option for the Chargers. Maybe one of the only options on defense that I feel very, very good about. Because if you're looking at the Chargers in 2023, I would suspect it's going to be more of an offensive focused draft because of the brand new OC and Kellen Moore coming into the building. Here's some other guys. Christian Gonzalez probably won't be there, but he's one of my favorite cornerbacks. Lucas Van Ness. There are talks that maybe he could fall. There are talks that maybe the Chargers could go edge. If you're looking at the Chargers' edge position after 2023, there's probably a little bit of up in the airness, right? A little bit of up in the air as to what we're going to do past the Khalil Mack, Joey Bosa era. Khalil Mack could become a cut candidate. Lucas Van Ness is probably one of the best options we can hope for the Chargers to fall to us. What was another edge that I on here? Nolan Smith I liked a lot. There are a few options here. So Lucas Van Ness is another player that I'd like to see how he tests. I think, again, want to kind of identify what he would bring in terms of meshing with the Chargers system here. Paris Johnson Jr., also a pretty nice option. I don't think he's going to fall, but the Chargers could look at tackle. Brian Brees. Jordan Addison. Now, Jordan Addison ranked where? I think at number 6 or 7 for me on this list. And it's because, again, what's wild to me, and if you're a Chargers fan, you know that we're looking for wide receiver. What's wild to me is that the name Jordan Addison, at least in a lot of mock drafts that I've been reading, continues to dip a little bit further and a little bit further in favor of guys like Quentin Johnston, who could definitely rise to that occasion, in favor of other wide receivers that I don't think are as complete as Jordan Addison. Now, Jordan Addison, he's not going to be the fastest wide receiver in this draft. I will tell you that he is very fast and could end up being the fastest wide receiver for the Chargers, but this dude runs some of the crispest routes you'll see out of this draft class. That's why I think it's especially important to pay attention to Jordan Addison, because if he continues to fly under the radar and get drafted in that 15 to 25 range that I've been seeing in various mock drafts, he could end up being a Los Angeles Charger this upcoming April. And I'm telling you right now, dudes, the potential of a Jordan Addison to take over this team as far as a wide receiver in the future is very, very real. He would immediately bring the speed the Chargers are looking for. He would immediately bring excellent route running. Do they have comparisons down here? He reminds me a little bit of Devonta Smith of the Eagles, maybe a little bit more upside. I like him quite a bit, man. And I think the 40 is something that the Chargers should definitely be paying attention to this season. I know the 40 is not a know-all, end-all stat, but if the Chargers find themselves, let's say, just like maybe a 4.42, maybe sub 4.4, I don't know. I feel like Jordan Addison would be that immediate answer as well as an answer for the future at wide receiver. And he could end up being my wide receiver 1.1, depending on how the board starts falling. Jordan Addison, we would be stupid lucky to see him fall in the draft. It's definitely one I want you guys to pay attention to in the draft. Broderick Jones, another big tackle, I think would be excellent to see. 310 pounds, 6'4", tackle again. As far as Trey Pipkins is concerned, it's really going to dictate how we view tackle in the first round. So Broderick Jones is definitely one of those guys. DeJuan Jones also is going to be a guy that I want us to pay attention to because I think there's more likely he's available, but definitely a nice name right there. Myles Murphy, a lot of I would say some Chargers fans that are on the train of let's grab an edge. This might be one of their favorite names. He would be fantastic. Look for his name in the combine. Jackson Smith and Jigba. This one's tough for me because if Njigba can go out there and run, let's say, a sub 4.5, which I know is not asking a lot, but that would be a lot for this player in particular. I think it would help his draft stock out. He's more of that reliable wide receiver that finds themselves open more often than not, that doesn't have the speed kind of player, right? Chargers got one in Keenan Allen, probably the best in the league. I would hope that the Chargers go after a speed option, seeing as we already have Keenan Allen, but you can never underestimate future planning when it comes to the Chargers. If they're thinking maybe Keenan's getting a little bit older, maybe we're a couple years away from moving on, Jackson Smith could end up being that guy. So if that's the case, we got to really hope for a decent 40 coming into the combine. Another name right here, Joey Porter. Where did I have this guy listed? Joey Porter, maybe a little bit lower. He's probably in the teens for me. I still think this is actually, he was pretty high for me. He was a number 5. Wow. Now, Joey Porter, he's being drafted in and around the Chargers range. And if you take a look at the Chargers cornerback position, you're probably not too worried, right? We got Sante Samuel Jr., J.C. Jackson, and then, of course, Michael Davis. A pick like Joey Porter, again, there's things you can do for the now and things you can do for the future. Drafting a Jordan Porter or Joey Porter helps you out past the Vato era, if that makes sense, because Michael Davis in contract with the Chargers for one more season. I would hope that maybe he gives us another big year, we can extend him, but if not, Joey Porter is a very, very nice player to supplement some of that with, right? 6'2", 198 pounds. Would hope that he performs pretty good at the combine. Keep an eye on that 40. Keep an eye on a lot of other those stats, but he does kind of fit that criteria a little bit, probably to a much higher ceiling as well. So keep an eye on the cornerbacks. Joey Porter. There was one more that I was actually excited to watch here. Deonte Banks is another one. I actually think Banks might fit the Chargers just a little bit better. Both those guys, big physical cornerbacks, definitely ones to look out for in the combine. Now, Zay Flowers. You guys had to have known this dude was going to be on the list. What do we have? I have him as my number 2 player in the combine that I'm looking for. Zay Flowers, wide receiver out of Boston College. We've talked your ear off about the dude. We're going to continue talking more about Zay Flowers because he could end up being my favorite pick for the Chargers if available at pick number 21. And it's because of what he's bringing outside of the speed, right? The speed is probably the number one thing that Chargers fans want him for, but he's complete. The dude is crisp. The dude is quick. The dude, in terms of agility, brings it on a Tyreek Hill kind of level. And that's why I think Zay Flowers, in the end, would benefit the Chargers maybe a little bit more than, let's say, the fastest player in the NFL draft. It could end up being a Jalen Hyatt. It could end up being another guy in the later round. I still think Zay Flowers and what he brings as a whole, as a complete player, brings the most upside for how the Chargers can utilize him now. And that's why I think Zay Flowers is definitely one guy to look out for. He's also a player that could put up maybe a bit of a disappointing 40, and that's why I think it's important to continue watching him. I don't know if that matters quite as much. If he can run a sub 4.4, that's kind of what I'm looking for. If he runs a 4.42, somewhere around there, I think I'm still okay with it, just because of all of the tape that he's put up, all of the big plays that he's put up with the combination of speed and agility. And that's why I think Zay Flowers could end up being my number 1 dude. All right, let's keep continuing down this list. Hoping everybody on my list is here on PFF. But of course, we got to talk about Dalton Kincaid, who's going to be listed as my number 3 player on my personal list that I'm looking for. Kincaid, I feel like we already know what we're going to see, and it's just a matter of fact of being excited to see it unfold, all right? Dalton Kincaid's probably one of the most physically gifted tight ends in this draft in terms of, again, completeness. He's going to have the speed. He's going to have the physicality. He's going to have a lot of the things that you're looking for, and a big reason why I think Chargers fans should be watching this guy is just to see him compared to the rest of the draft class, because this is a really good tight end class, right? But I still think Dalton Kincaid and Michael Mayer stand above the rest. First round potential. Everybody else, you're still getting a great player, but I would say in the later rounds, day 2 and beyond. Dalton Kincaid, though, again, this is one of those guys where I'm like, I don't know if he's gonna test Kyle Pitts crazy, but I think he's gonna test very, very nice. And he'll be a fun player to watch. My number 3 player for the Chargers to watch, just because, again, I think pairing up Justin Herbert with a star tight end is an important aspect to look at going forward. And they happen to have 2 very good tight ends. Actually, I would say at least 5 or 6 really good tight ends in this draft, depending on where you're willing to go in. First round, second round. There's even some third round guys that I think could end up looking really, really nice. All right, next up, let's go to page 2 here, man. I like the laid-back kind of feel on this one because it does feel a little bit more one-on-one. I can't wait to go in the comment section and read some of your guys' names. Now, Nolan Smith, I actually did list this guy. He's in the teens for me on my list. But again, this seems like to be a player that's maybe more in our range in terms of where the Chargers can actually pick him up. And again, Nolan Smith and a lot of other draft classes could be a top 3 dude. That's how good and deep this edge class is in 2023. So this is going to be another player that you're going to want to see how he tests out in the combine. Take a look for that speed. The quickness is certainly one of those big traits, but he does fit what the Chargers are going to be looking for. And my goodness, he should be putting up some pretty nice numbers at the combine. Next up, Bijan Robinson. Where do I have Bijan on this list? Maybe I forgot to put him on the list because he would have been a top 5 guy for me. And that's just because, again, a lot needs to happen, I think, for me and a lot of other Chargers fans to jump on the Bijan Robinson train, the hype train. The Chargers, not the biggest needy team when it comes to running back. We got 3 pretty solid backs and one of the best backs in the entire NFL in Austin Eckler. But Bijan Robinson, the reason I've kind of not given up on him, because again, I think other positions are more important. I think speed, wideout, I think even edge, I think a lot of other positions, even tight end, which is not a huge need, more important than running back at this point, especially if you're thinking about drafting him in the first round. But Bijan is that special. And if you're looking at a Chargers team that's looking to turn around the run game instantly, I don't know if there's any player in the entire draft that you can draft better to do that than Bijan Robinson. This dude is special. Look how he graded in 2022, 95.3. That's a very, very special talent. I would be interested in watching him because, again, kind of like we were talking with Dalton Kincaid, he should test ridiculous. There's not much more I can say on the guy. Very complete. He can catch. He can run. He can do anything you're asking in a true number 1 running back in the NFL. Keep an eye on him. Bijan, I'm not going to throw the name out. Again, I'm not the biggest fan of running back in the first round, but he is a very special talent. And I got to tell you right now, man, if they call his name on draft day to the Chargers, there is a reason to get super, super excited. All right. Next up, Michael Mayer. What did I have Mayer on my list? He's dropped to number 8. I've kind of come to the conclusion that I like Dalton Kincaid more as a fit for the Chargers, just because how the Chargers use their tight ends, right? It doesn't mean that they can't change things around a little bit, mix things up, go to a more hybrid tight end in terms of blocking and receiving. But I feel like Michael Mayer may end up being the most ready to come into the NFL right now. But I feel like this is one of those very important players to watch in the combine. A lot can change in the combine. He's not very much viewed as a very, let's say, athletic player. He's not going to be the fastest tight end out there. But again, what he offers in run blocking, receiving, a possession kind of guy, you can throw him up basically a 50-50 ball every other play. He's going to have a good chance coming down with every single one of them. That's the kind of player Michael Mayer is. And if he can go into the combine and post a decent 40, right? In the 4.6s would make me happy. Maybe low 4.7s. I don't know if I'm as deterred from his physical ability, right? So just keep an eye out for Michael Mayer in the combine. If he tests well, maybe there's more chance that he comes to the Chargers. Continuing down here, what we got? Anton Harrison, Will McDonald, another edge that's kind of maybe a possibility for the Chargers. Antonio Johnson. I wouldn't go in on this cat in the first round, but if he's somewhere to be found in the second round, because again, safety falls all the time. I would have to consider Antonio Johnston. 6'3". He's got boxing. So I would say that he's very versatile, right? He's got box and slot potential. That's kind of his role in Texas A&M. This guy would fit perfectly with the Chargers. He's got that big speed and that big, or I should say that big size. That would definitely help him out playing closer to the line of scrimmage. Keep an eye out for Antonio Johnston, another big name to not underestimate there. Luke Musgrave too, man. I don't know about you guys. Luke Musgrave, what was it, a couple of weeks ago, maybe even a month ago, one of those first-round tight ends a lot of people were talking about. Now he's dipped just a little bit, but this is another guy that I think, again, Chargers should definitely keep an eye on. Size and speed, listed as one of the #1 traits on PFF for a reason. 6'6", moves a little bit freakish for his size. He can improve the route running a little bit, but this is one of those tight ends that you're going to be looking at as a receiver. Luke Musgrave, again, the tight end class this year, the top 3 or 4 or whatever you want to list, Luke Musgrave, Dalton Kincaid, Michael Mayer. The tight end position, I like it a lot this season. If the Chargers are going to go in any year, I like this year a lot. So keep an eye out for Luke Musgrave, another one of my favorites. Where did I have him listed? I had it listed at number 10 on my list here. Osias Torrance, another guy that maybe the Chargers go after. Let's say that they decide to kick out Jamari Sawyer to right tackle. I think Osias Torrance could end up being like one of those guards of the draft, right? So again, offensive line, not as sexy, but the Chargers have ways that they can shift their offensive linemen around a little bit. Osias Torrance, I think he's been mocked to us a couple of times. Couldn't be too mad at it, even though it's not the sexiest pick, but man, does he grade out well, and he's got the consistency to back him up as well there too. Mozzie Smith, defensive. I don't know if he fits us as well. I don't remember this name as much, but that's another position to consider. Defensive line. Chargers certainly need to make sure they get a little bit of backup there to help their run defense. BJ Ojulari, Nathaniel Dell, Tank Dell. I've seen Daniel of Chargers Unleashed talking everyone's ear off about this man, and this is certainly one of those players that you heavily have to consider for the Chargers. We're looking for speed. We're looking for agility. We're looking for a lot of things that we saw, and I would say a more complete player, Zay Flowers, but Tank Dell, man, if you're looking for just making plays out of thin air, this is your dude. Using that quickness, agility, and speed, this would be a very exciting player to see on the Chargers, man. Right now, where is he ranked in terms of PFF? 37. So maybe you got to take a first-round a chance on him. Maybe Zay Flowers off the board. Nathaniel Dell's your next wide receiver. You go for him. Maybe there's a chance you trade up in the second. Maybe he falls in the second. Who knows? But this is going to be a big, big name. And again, if he grades out very well, which I think he really will in the Combine this weekend, that could end up being a huge name that's connected to the Chargers in weeks to come. So Tank Dell, man, definitely make sure to keep an eye on him. Certainly he is 40, etc., but my goodness, that could end up being a very fun player for the Chargers. Let's see, Henley Downs. Here's another wide receiver to keep an eye on. Downs, he's going to be your pure slot guy, right? But he does possess the speed that the Chargers are looking for. And again, maybe more of a second-round kind of dude, but again, we're looking for speed. So at wide receiver, I would say almost all wide receivers, pay attention to their 40, pay attention to any agility drills, anything like that, because that's going to be on the Chargers board almost guaranteed. Looking for speed at wide receiver. Josh Downs, again, definitely going to be more of a slot dude, but he did tremendous work from the slot there for North Carolina. I feel like he would be a big play for the Chargers once again. Thule's going to be another big one. Edge. DeJuan Jones, second-round tackle, which I would be ecstatic for. The dude's huge, 6'8", 350 pounds. I'm not going to try and pronounce this name, but this is also a very, very, very good edge for the Chargers to consider. I think he's got more upside than rank number 45. Let's see. It's continued down here. I want to see another name that I had on my list because, again, you're not just looking for first-round guys. You're looking for guys above and beyond. Is Keon White the guy that I was looking for? Pass rush repertoire, size, speed. There was one guy that I feel like, okay, maybe it ended up being, what was his name? Sanders, right? There was a guy out here as far as linebacker, and this is what I'm just going to say, linebackers, I'll clump them in as a whole. We are looking for linebackers that are good in coverage, right? And they're going to have some speed to back that up. Speed doesn't always, guarantee good coverage, but the Chargers may find themselves in a need for a linebacker this offseason. And I hate to say it because nobody wants to see Drew Tranquill leave the team. But from what we've seen with the Chargers these past several seasons, they may view the position like the running back of the defense, where they're interchangeable. You can move them in and out. So just keep an eye on the linebackers as well. I feel like that's going to be something the Chargers definitely need to consider. So guys like Keon White, guys like Drew Sanders out of Arkansas, these are dudes to consider. Okay. Another guy I want to kind of throw your guys' eyeballs on is Siaki Ika. I don't know if he's going to be doing a lot at the combine, but the guy's huge. The guy's massive. 6'4", 358 pounds. Pure run-stopping nose tackle. Another big guy I want you guys to look at. Sam Laporta, another one of those vertical tight ends. You guys just watch the tight ends, watch their 40s, watch all of those drills, man. Have some good time with it. Sidney Brown, 6 foot. He's got the speed. He's got the versatile as well. Fits the system. Watch for that speed. We'll do a little bit of lightning round here. Zach Charbonnet, Charbonnet. This guy is big, right? Not big in terms of his size. I mean, 6'1" 220, certainly not small for the position, but he plays like that physical back that you're looking for. Some people say he looks a little bit like Joshua Kelly, but maybe a little bigger. Maybe that's what the Chargers could be looking for. I don't know if I'm wanting to go in on a running back not named Bijan Robinson that high, but you never know. What are some other guys here that I'm looking for? Jack Campbell. Jamie Robinson, another safety, I think would fit the Chargers pretty nice. 2 high safety kind of look there. 5'11", maybe a little bit shorter, but see how he grades out. Isaiah Foskey, dude, this dude could be awesome. This is one of my favorite second-round dudes right here. I think he led Notre Dame in sacks and pressures. Just absolutely fantastic. Let's see how he tests out. Jalen Hyatt, who could end up being one of the faster tight ends in the entire draft this season, or I should say wide receivers. He's going to be a big name for Chargers to look out for. PFF has him down in the 3rd round. Again, this is why the combine's important. If this guy goes out there and runs a 4.35, a 4.32, God forbid a sub 4.2, you're looking at his draft stock going way higher. He could even be in the 1st round, high 2nd round. You never know. That's kind of where I'm guessing he's going to be is between, the late 1st, early 2nd. Unfortunately, the Chargers don't have really good positioning there, but Jalen Hyatt is certainly a big player to take a look at. And in terms of his hands, his catching and stuff like that too, maybe a little bit influence from the combine could be witnessed in those rounds there too. Cam Smith, Darnell Wright, Darnell Washington, don't really need him. Is there any other guys here that we list? So I'm going to look at my list here and see anybody that wasn't listed here. Trey Tucker, wide receiver, Cincinnati. See if we run through him. He'd be another very fast guy. Marvin Mims, wide receiver out of Oklahoma. He'd be another really good one. Michael Wilson, not really the kind of wide receiver we're looking for, but he could be a future-proof kind of dude. The dude lit it up later on in this. I just think that Michael Wilson, again, more of your physical wide receiver, could end up being a big steal, kind of like the way George Pickens was a little bit for the Steelers. Derek Hall, another edge guy we're looking for. Darius Rush, I don't know. I think we've kind of gone through a lot of the guys I like. DeMarvion Overshown. This is one of those linebackers I think the Chargers could be looking for in terms of physicality as well, too. This dude hits hard. Very, very fast. This man, I should have put him on my list, too. He would have made a top 15 for sure. DeMarvion Overshown. Again, there's something around his name that I'm not quite familiar with. Maybe some controversy, but you guys let me know in the comment section below if we watch out for him. Moro Ajamo. We got Parker Washington, which I don't think the Chargers should take. JL Skinner could end up being a nice pick here too. 6'4", more of a slot guy. Definitely, again, the Chargers looking for safety. Could be looking at more of a 3rd rounder in JL Skinner. Imagine the Chargers having JL and JT at safety. That would be kind of neat. Jaden Reed's been pretty good. I think we've kind of gone through pretty much everybody, and then there's Drew Sanders. I think we've kind of, maybe Dorian Williams was the guy I was thinking. I think it was Dorian Williams, right? Yeah, this is the guy. Dorian Williams is going to be your coverage dude. 6'2". He'll be okay fast, but he's very good in coverage. Dorian Williams is going to be one of those guys I want you to pay attention to in terms of the Chargers, because if we're going to be looking for another coverage linebacker, we could maybe find a guy in the 3rd round in Dorian Williams out of Tulane. So I think I've kind of gone over a lot of the positions that I wanted to go over, mainly some of the names that gets me excited. You guys in the comment section below, and then Ivan Pace. Was that another guy that I was looking at? I think Ivan Pace. Just keep an eye on Ivan Pace too for me, would you? These are some of the names that I've been excited about. I want you guys in the comment section below to leave some of your names that you're excited to see how they perform at the combine, see what shifts in terms of draft position, especially in positions of need for the Chargers. I would say, again, wide receiver, tight end, not really, but there's some good talent to convince me on there. Defensive line, offensive line, linebacker, certainly. Then you can convince me on positions like edge and cornerback as well. The Chargers, not huge needs all over the board, but at this point, you're going to want to bring in a player that makes a difference, hopefully immediately, or at least covers your butt in the future when guys like maybe Khalil Mack or Michael Davis have to depart in the future. So you guys let me know in the comment section below some of the guys that you're looking for. We didn't go very deep in this video. I would say we went about 3 rounds deep. You guys let me know 4 rounds beyond too, man. Round 4 and beyond, there's going to be guys that are hidden gems that people are excited about. Let us know. Declare your dudes in the chat right now as to who you think is going to perform good in the combine and end up making a difference in terms of where they're drafted in the NFL draft coming up here in a couple of months. So thank you guys so much for joining me. This has been The Director. If you guys liked what you saw here, hit us up with a like and sub on your way out. We'll see you next time. And as always, bolt up and stay frosty. Dan from Chargers Unleashed, I'm listening. Tank Dell slowly but surely and persistently rising in my wide receiver rankings.